Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Who is Imam Ali as-Sajjad? Uh, the topic we are going to discuss today is in relation to the life of Imam Zayn Al-Abidin, the fourth holy Imam, and we are trying to bring his personality and discuss the issues in relation to his personality and try to understand Imam Sajjad better than what is usually promoted about Imam Sajjad. Usually Imam Sajjad is known as a person who was ill, who was not feeling well in the Karbala, and he's not talked about a lot in the plains of Karbala, except that he was ill, and in the final stages when Imam Hussein ﷺ was martyred, Bibi Zaynab Salatullah alayha goes to him and seeks his advice as the Imam of the age, because we all know that when an Imam dies, the next Imam becomes an Imam immediately. So as soon as Imam Hussein ﷺ was martyred and killed in the plains of Karbala, the next Imam was, according to the instructions and the guidance that was given by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and passed on through Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein had done his responsibility and duty before his martyrdom and conveyed the message to Imam Zayn al-Abidin and made him aware of his responsibilities and duties. In the similar way, Hazrat Zaynab Salawatullah alayha was instructed by Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam that who will be the next Imam and how he would take over the responsibility of being an Imam in the community in Muslim Ummah, the Ummah of the believers in Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, and not only Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, because we believe that Imam is an Imam for all age. Imam is an Imam for all Muslims, whether Muslims accept him or not, that's a secondary issue. The main issue is that Imamat is an issue and a position that has to be appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if he did not convey the message, he would have not completed the mission, and therefore Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of Ghadir introduced Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam as the immediate successor after him. Whoever Prophet Muhammad was Imam and leader of, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib would become the successor and leader of those people. Although as far as the history is concerned, we cannot deny that the so-called Muslim Ummah of that time went in Saqifa and did not accept the teaching of Prophet Muhammad and did not follow the orders in choosing the successor, although they didn't have a choice, because when a prophet says, we believe as a Shia Muslim that when a prophet says something, he is not saying out of his desire and personal wishes. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْحَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. There is a famous narration which says that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is someone who talks according to will and wishes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His actions, his deeds, his talks, his behavior is all an example for all of us, and we have to follow that example. So according to that, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam was appointed not because he was son-in-law of Prophet Muhammad, not because he was cousin of Prophet Muhammad, not because Prophet Muhammad personally liked him. He was appointed as the successor and leader because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted him to be the leader. So following that chain of leadership, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib appointed Imam Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salatu wasalam as the leader, and Imam Hassan appointed Imam Hussein as the leader, and Imam Hussein in the plains of Karbala appointed Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam as the leader of the Muslim Ummah and Imam of the Muslim Ummah. And practically Bibi Zainab salawatullah alayha, who played a very important role in the history of Karbala, history of Islam, as the promoter of the justice and promoter of the true message of Islam. She conveyed the message, and she not only conveyed, she practiced it by immediately referring to Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Although she was a family member, she could have had millions of thoughts in her mind, but she reacted according to her responsibility. And that is what we need to learn from the lessons that we learn from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, that how they respected this position and how they followed the orders of the Imam of the age. And Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam was the Imam of the age, therefore he should have been respected. And Bibi Zainab salatullah alayha asked Imam Zayn al-Abidin what to do, and from then onward, whatever Imam Zayn al-Abidin instructed was followed. Imam Zayn al-Abidin himself is, as we know, son of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and his mother, according to some narrations, came from Iran, and she was captured as a slave girl, and then Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam married her. And there are narrations, I don't want to go into details of what happened, but this is what we receive through reliable narrations, that all of the Imams who married a lady in their life, they had some kind of inspiration or instructions, indirect instructions, or feeling that they were inclined to the teachings of Islam, and they were looking for the truth, and they were guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the right place, and got married. And this is how mother of Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam also married to Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin was conceived from this relationship. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin from his childhood witnessed the imamat, according to narration, around 2 years of imamat of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, then Imam Hassan Mujtaba, then Imam Hussein's period of imamat, and then finally he himself became the Imam of the age of that period and era. And he was recognized as the leader of the Muslims and Imam of the Muslims, or in true sense, he was the Amir al-Mu'mineen. And as we believe that Ati'u Allah wa Ati'u Rasuluhu ulil amri minkum, Imam Zayn al-Abidin fell into that category of ulil amr that were appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, they had to be respected and considered as Imam. Imam does not mean that he does not become an Imam even if he doesn't hold the position. This is our belief, that because this position is a unique position which has not been given to even all prophets. Some of the prophets had been given this position, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is one of those prophets who was given this position himself. And when he asked wa min zurriyati, he was told that this position will only reach to the zurriya and the children and family of and progeny of of Prophet Muhammad, who are not the traitors, who are on the right path. And that's why if you look at the history of the Imams, we don't follow the pattern of eldest son becoming the successor. I mean, whoever is chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the instructions and directions and teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, becomes the next Imam. And later on in the history, we see some Shia Muslims got confused about who is the next Imam and chose the wrong person. Instead of doing that, they should have followed the instructions that given by the Prophet himself and by the Imam that was the Imam of the age, rather than rushing to choose the position themselves. And usually this is what we find, that most of the problems in Muslim Ummah are due to not following the instructions and giving our personal opinion into matters like leadership and these issues that are divine, and we should depend on the teachings of Prophet Muhammad and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and follow the instructions that are given in Holy Quran. As far as Imam Zayn al-Abidin's martyrdom or wafat or demise, sad demise is concerned, there is one fact that none of the Imams from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib to Imam Hassan Askari died a natural death. And Imam Hussein has the unique way of dying, and that was in the battlefield. And rest of other Imams, they were either poisoned or killed with a stroke of a sword or stabbing. Most of the Imams died by the so-called rulers of their time, who did not like the popularity of the Imams, because a true Imam always rules the hearts and mind of people. And every single Imam, from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib to Imam Mahdi ajalallah ta'ala farajahu, has this unique blessing that they rule the minds and hearts of people rather than having the physical position. Although there is we believe that Imams are the ones who should have the positions in the society, but the historical fact is the Muslim Ummah did not follow the advice of Prophet Muhammad in almost all Imams' cases, with the exception of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. And even him, he was not given the position right away that should have been given. He was given as the fourth caliph. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, in his period also, there were khulafas, and they hijacked the position, and they were given the position, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin had to play the role of rescuing Islam and saving Islam, and he became popular with that kind of attitude, and the enemies could not resist his popularity, and finally they poisoned him and killed him, and this is how Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam became a martyr. There are several narrations on his martyrdom which date, because during those days we didn't have computers or professional ways and methods of recording the events. So therefore there are these confusions, so many different narrations, when he was born and when he died. But approximately within 2 or 3 years difference, there are different narrations on the death and wafat and shahadat of Imam Zayn al-Abidin. The important thing is to remember Imam Zayn al-Abidin as a character and a leader, a righteous leader who set up the best example for the Muslim Ummah. We should remember him, and we should not forgive him, and give our allegiance to Imam Zayn al-Abidin. The role of Imam Zayn al-Abidin in Karbala, before Karbala, and after Karbala. As I explained earlier, Imam Zayn al-Abidin lived around 2 years of his life during Imam Ali's time of Khilafat and Imamat, and he also lived during the period of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. So he practically was educated by 3 holy Imams how to react and guide Muslim Ummah under different circumstances. He witnessed the atrocities against Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he witnessed then his leadership and imamat. Then he also witnessed the atrocities against Imam Hassan, his uncle, and how he was mistreated and how he was forced into a peace treaty, and then how he was disrespected as an imam. And he also witnessed how Imam Hassan Mushtaba, who was supposed to be the most appropriate person to be buried next to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was not allowed to be buried, and arrows were thrown on the body and coffin of Imam Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salatu wasallam. These are not simple issues. I mean, if a person in our life, in our present day and life, or child in our present day and life goes through these atrocities and witness all these things, they would consider giving the person counseling, and would consider the person as mentally scarred and whatever. But these imams that we believe in them, we believe that they are infallible, and I would like to explain the meaning of infallibility here as well. That infallibility is not something that they are forced to do a certain act. I mean, like Imam Hussein was not forced to go to Karbala, but he knew his responsibility, the knowledge he had about his responsibility that was given and passed through Prophet Muhammad to Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. They knew what they were supposed to do, so they couldn't go against the knowledge that they had. For example, if you are informed of something wrong is going to happen, and you are made 100% sure that this is going to happen, so you become more aware and alert of what is going to happen. So imams were given this divine knowledge through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that these things are going to happen, but this did not mean that they were forced into any of these actions. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin witnessed all these atrocities against Imam Ali, Imam Hassan. Then he was present in the tragedy of Karbala, and there are many narrations about why Imam Zayn al-Abidin was not killed in Karbala. It wasn't the responsibility of the all male adults to get involved in supporting Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and why Imam Zayn al-Abidin did not. The main reason and apparent reason that we know, and we have received the information about it through the narrations, is that Imam Zayn al-Abidin was ill, and that is why in Urdu and Persian he's known as Abid-e Bimar, or the Sajjad, or the worshipper who was ill. And unfortunately, this is the only role of Imam Zayn al-Abidin that has been presented in the society, that he was Abid and he was Bimar, means ill. He was not feeling well. That is one of the reasons that he may have not taken part in the battlefield in supporting Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. But we as Shia Muslims believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a wise creator, and all his actions are wise. So fi'lul hakim la yakhlu an al-hikmah, that wise beings actions are not without wisdom. So he, as a wise creator, created all of us and has given a purpose in our life. And therefore, imams who are the infallible leaders have definitely been told what the purpose of their life was, but not, as I said, by force. They were given this instruction by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to educate the society to accept the imamat and leadership of all these imams. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam was present in the battle of Karbala, but he did not take part in the battle of Karbala due to his illness. And we believe, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise, he wanted to protect the future imam, and he was going to be the future imam. Therefore, the future imam was protected, and he managed to go through the atrocities and difficulties. And whenever he received this position, as soon as the death of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, he became the responsible person, and he acted the way an imam had to act, and he started to give instructions to the looted caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and gave instructions to Bibi Zaynab salatullah alayha how to react and what to do. And the first mission was to disclose who Imam Hussein was, because the enemy tried to introduce Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, na'uzu billah, as a traitor who had revolted against the so-called Amirul Mu'mineen of the time, and therefore whoever he was, he should have obeyed the so-called leaders of the time and given his hands in allegiance to Imam Hussein. We live in the present day and life, which is full of all these psychologists and great planners who plan the events. But if we look at the events of Karbala, and people, especially the enemies of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and not only Imam Hussein, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Hussein, they were also excellent planners of the time. But as we believe that makaru wa makar Allah wallahu khairul makirin, that the best of the planner is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is successful in his planning. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin became the Imam. He was protected, he was not killed, and this question was raised when Imam Zayn al-Abidin was presented in Ibn Ziyad's palace, and when the palace was prepared for the welcoming of the looted caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam Hussein's head was brought in front of the corrupt rulers of the time, and they pointed with the stick to the teeth of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and were insulting Imam Hussein, and they called, who is there to defend Imam Hussein, who has been killed in this way because of his, according to them, so-called revolt. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin stood up and said, I'm Ali ibn al-Hussein. And he said, you were supposed to be killed. Why you were not killed? And he said, my elder brother called Ali was killed, and I survived with the help of Allah because of illness or whatever, because of, he said Allah wanted to protect. And then there was this discussion between Imam Zayn al-Abidin and them, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam had to introduce himself, who he was, and he said that I'm son of Hussein, who is son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, who's the husband of Fatima Zahra salawatullah, cousin of Ali, and truly appointed leader of the Muslims. And this discussion went on. So the whole, I'm trying to show the role of Imam Zayn al-Abidin was to stand up and speak. And this is one of the lessons that our leaders of the time need to learn from Imam Zayn al-Abidin, that if you have taken the responsibility of leadership, you should not be afraid of the oppressive rulers of the time. You should raise your voice the way Imam Zayn al-Abidin, right in the middle of the corrupt rulers and their palace, he did not hesitate to introduce who Hussein was, who Prophet was, who was on the right side and who was on the wrong side. And this argument and discussion between the two of them went on until it was Adhan time, and instruction was given to give Adhan, and everybody went quiet. And suddenly when the Muazzin said, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Imam Zayn al-Abidin bravely stood up and said, who is Muhammad Rasulullah? Is he your grandfather or my grandfather? So they didn't have any choice but to acknowledge that Imam Hussein was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, and the corrupt rulers had nothing to do with Prophet Muhammad. But because this program is being watched by non-Muslims as well, and our Ahlul Sunnah and Muslim brothers as well, I emphasize again that we do not believe in inheriting the leadership. Inheriting is not the reason we accept the son of the Imams as the Imam of the age. It is because of the teachings of Prophet Muhammad and instructions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the leader. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised and said that the earth will not remain without a Khalifa appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Khalifa is appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has to be appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly or indirectly. And this is how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam introduced the leadership and Khilafat and Imamat until the last day of this earth. He introduced the method that we will not remain without a leader. We will have an Imam during all periods of time and leader during all periods of time. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin was the leader of the time, and he had to stand up and defend and go forward and disclose the oppressive rulers of the time, and that is the lesson that we learn from him. And he did not show any kind of weakness in front of the enemies of Islam. He stood up firmly, and not only him. Bibi Zainab Salatullah alayha, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib's daughter, was also there, who played an important role in disclosing the image of the oppressive rulers of the time. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin, accompanied by Zainab Salatullah alayha, the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi, they both played very important role. And Bibi Zainab Salatullah alayha, as I have repeated this several times, did not show any kind of resistance in accepting Imam, although if she could have said, I'm daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but she accepted Imam Zayn al-Abidin according to the instructions and divine revelations as the leader of the time, and she defended Imam Zayn al-Abidin, she defended Imam Hussein, and the right of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam as the most knowledgeable, most righteous people to lead the Muslim Ummah, not because they inherit. Although Imam Zayn al-Abidin did point out to Ibn Ziyad that whose name is being mentioned in Adhan, and he had to say that it was Prophet Muhammad, and he asked whose grandfather was that, and this was not to bring the issue of blood relation to them, but to prove that Prophet Muhammad's name is above all what has been done. They committed atrocities to damage the image of Islam. They wanted to prevent the promotion of the teachings of Islam, and that was not achieved. They were not successful in doing that. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin continued his role as an Imam and leader, and you have to then see how he reacted during his lifetime, during the period of Imamat, during the prison, during the journey, during the time he stayed in Medina. There is a narration, important narration from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, which is very important. He says that after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, only 3 loyal and true mu'mins were left, and the rest of the people were not as loyal as these 3 persons. And he is not named them, probably is Bibi Zainab Salatullah alayha, and Imam Muhammad Baqir was there in Karbala, but as a young child, and maybe others who were and Imam Zayn al-Abidin himself. I mean, these are the three persons. And Imam Zayn al-Abidin had the responsibility to increase the popularity of the true teachings of Islam from these three remaining persons into a bigger image of Islam, bigger group of Muslim Ummah. And he was very successful, because if Imam Zayn al-Abidin did not do what he did, we wouldn't have received any of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. And he was expert as an Imam in doing this. For example, you can imagine someone living in the middle of enemies, and you are continuously afraid of being spied on you, and you have a big responsibility to promote the teachings of Islam at any cost. And this is what he used to do. For example, there are several narrations that he used to go in the market and mix with the people. The preaching was not done the way we do nowadays. Most of the preachings that Prophet Muhammad and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam did was by body language, by mixing with people, by associating with them, by behaving in a different manner, presenting a better akhlaq and better manners to the society, which used to attract them to the holy Imams, and they used to learn from the behavior of holy Imams. Prophet Muhammad himself did the same thing. And Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein all followed the same order. Imam Hussein even did not stop advising the enemies in the battlefield, and he kept on talking to them and presenting himself who he was, and he was introducing the character of Prophet Muhammad and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin used to look for an excuse to explain who was the traitor in Karbala and who was the oppressed. And one of the best method that he used to adopt, for example, if he used to see an animal is being slaughtered, he would go forward and ask, have you given water to this animal? Have you taken care of this animal before you slaughter the animal? Then they used to say yes, and then he used to start crying, and people used to gather around him. When people gathered around him, he would explain that this animal is being slaughtered. Before being slaughtered is given water, and my father was killed, who was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, in plains of Karbala, without even being given a drop of water. So, and the way Imam Hussein's head was beheaded was from the back of his neck, and an animal is being usually slaughtered from the front of the neck. And this is how he used to disclose the atrocities of the oppressors, and this is how he established the grounds of stability of Islam after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. And then I would like to again remind myself and all believers and everyone who is watching this program that we are all sisters and brothers in humanity. We should learn to stay together, love each other, and follow the messages of our divine personalities of our own religion. And remember, especially Imam Zayn al-Abidin, who is the founder and of the new Islam, or true Islam. We shouldn't say new Islam, we should say true Islam, that was damaged by the corrupt rulers of the time. And Imam Zayn al-Abidin, with the help of Bibi Zainab Salatullah alayha, re-established the missing teachings of Islam and helped the world to recognize Islam in a better way. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.